Hello everyone, Tazaro2 here. Today I wanted to talk about a conversation that I had with my friends one day, and it intrigued me, so I wanted to do some research. Based on the title, some of you might want to click off this video if you found it, but I ask you to hold on, because I've been a fan of card games, tabletop games, things like that for years now, and I got nothing against Dungeons & Dragons or D&D. I just want to provide some information for aspiring role players that so they can make a good decision. If you're interested, there is a full transcript available in the description, complete with sources, and also additional information. So let's get into it. First of all, a brief history of Dungeons & Dragons. So Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game. First developed by a small team called Tactical Studies Rules, which is a partnership. It's created by the creators of the game, Gary Gygax, Dave Arneson, Brian Bloom, and Don Kane. The first copies went out in 1975, and when that happened, Tactical Studies Rules dissolved into TSR Hobbies Incorporated, and over 3,000 copies were sold a year. After many years of success, they created several expansions to the game. They made They even made a video game, and they made an entire new edition to Dungeons & Dragons called Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. At this point, in June of 1997, this was June 1997. Wizards of the Coast purchased TSR Hobbies. So after this, Dungeons & Dragons continues to get new content to this day, including new additions, new game elements, and it's so much more than it used to be. But this isn't the whole history after all. If it was, I wouldn't be making this video. In 1979, a 16-year-old boy by the name of James Egbert went missing. The private investigator hired was William Deere, and he believed that Dungeons & Dragons seemed to be the cause of this. This wasn't the cause, however. As it turns out, Egbert died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound while having an episode of self-harm. He was suffering from drug addiction and depression. And Deere concluded that his suicide, not knowing of the depression and drug abuse, that Dungeons & Dragons was still the cause of this suicide. This led to other suicides being blamed on the game, and in 1982 there was a landmark case in this of someone named Lee Pulling. He also suffered from depression, and when Washington Post reported on his death, they quoted his friend Victoria Rock Charlie that he had a lot of problems. She said he had a lot of problems anyway that weren't associated with the game. Regardless of this fact, Patricia Pulling, Lee Pulling's mother, claimed that there was a curse in the game that was placed upon him, that was his game's character, that was also real. She sued the person running the game. She sued Tactical Studies Rules, and these cases got thrown out of court. She made this group called Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons, or BAD. So through this group, she launched several media campaigns, and she even participated in a 60 Minutes episode with Gary Gygax. Then in 1985, there was this other person named John Quigley. He was from the Lakeview Fuel Gospel Fellowship. He claimed the game to be an occult tool that opens up young people to influence or possession by demons. And there was this person that I empathize with, Andy Smith. He he's both an avid he was both an avid role player and a Christian. And he recalls a time where he was working at a Christian organization, and they just told him to put away his role playing books because just because they said it contained references to demon worship. And Dr. David Waldron was researching this. He wrote this book called Role Playing Games and the Christian Right: Community Formation in Response to the Moral Panic. He says that the reasoning to this statement can be attributed by since fantasy typically features activities like magic and witchcraft, D&D was perceived to be in opposition to Christian beliefs, and established thinking, and which leads to the thought that it establishes thinking about witchcraft and magic. In addition to this view, in addition to the view that youth had the ability to distinguish fantasy and reality, and since they thought that youth people had, like younger people, had the inability to distinguish between fantasy and reality, that they shouldn't play this game because it will teach them to worship Satan or whoever. So in the 90s, Patricia Pulling in Bed was actually challenged by this author. His name is Michael Stackpole. He published this article called The Pulling Report. And in the Pulling Report, he documented several errors made by Bad, and said that Patricia Pulling was misrepresenting herself as a witness in games of Dungeons and Dragons. So if you want to read more, you can read the Pulling Report in the additional information section of the transcript below in the description. It's a very big report. It's very large, so I didn't want to pull it apart. It would take way too long. And anyway, so the bottom line of all this is Dungeons & Dragons is a game that requires your own imagination to play. So if you don't like the rules, you make new ones, and you can even redefine core game elements and make the game however you want. All it takes is some friends sitting at a table rolling dice. You don't need anything else. And as far as I know, I'm no expert in this, but I don't think there's any link between playing a fantastical game with your friends and summoning demons from the underworld. This is just one man's opinion anyway, and if you want to see more content, be sure to like and subscribe. You can debate with me and other people down in the comments below, I'm sure. And I also play games for charity. This isn't all I do. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. So, be sure to check that out. Check out my channel. It's fun. It's real fun. And anyway, thank you for watching. Hope I was helpful in any way. I just don't know. And I'll see you all next time.